Welcome home to your new place. It's got plenty of space, and I get it's not the same as what you've known, but welcome home, you'll be okay. You've been attached to material things, but that's not the joy that life brings. You've got your family and your friends, and in the end that's all you need, you will see. So in with the new, and hugs to the old. Things aren't quite as black and white as what you've been told, 'cause you won't forget, but you can move on. Maybe just sit down and write a song. You've got so much on your mind. Take a breath, it will be fine. Change isn't easy, but it's worth it when you're done. So come out into the sun. Welcome home to your new life. It'll greet you with a smile. There's so much more to come, and you don't even know how great it is. So welcome home.
We're back. It's Thursday. It is right before 7 o'clock. I like to give you guys your money's worth. Okay? I'll give you an extra few seconds of this show. That's what I do. I work for the community. Okay? I work for you. And those few seconds, well, that's on me. All right, welcome back. It's Pleasanton Live, Thursday, 7 o'clock. We feature artists every week, whether it's music or theater or culinary arts or a different kind of art than you've seen in Pleasanton Live tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. What's been happening, you ask? What's been going on in my world, you ask? Thank you so much for asking, everyone. I am in the middle of rehearsals with Creatures of Impulse. We have Improv Face-Off coming on this month. Oh my gosh, it's March already. It's March 19th. You're going to have ticket information soon. The next two Pleasanton Lives, you're going to have ticket information. So you're going to want to come on to our Zoom improv show, Improv Face-Off. I'm also in the middle of rehearsals with the High School Music Collaborative and HSMC Radio. The High School Music Collaborative is getting ready for a performance, their Youth Music Festival show on Zoom next month, the 23rd. And HSMC Radio, which is a new addition to the High School Music Collaborative, we have high school students that will be podcasters, bringing you different types of podcasts that have to do with music. And what they have planned is really cool. I can't wait. There's this one that's like about listening party. And Sebastian, my man Sebastian, had this idea. And he's like, we'll listen to albums and we'll react to the albums. And the one that's coming up, the first album we have to listen to is a John Lennon album. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have never heard one John Lennon album ever. I've heard songs, but I've never listened to... Okay, here's a confession. I have never listened to a Beatles album all the way through. Isn't that strange as a musician? Well, it's true. I didn't really grow up with Beatles albums. Okay? So... don't judge me. But we're listening to a John Lennon album, and I think it's Plastic Ono something or other. Ooh, I wrote it down. Hold on, everybody. This is the interesting part. Plastic Ono Band. Is that right? Plastic Ono Band? We have to listen to that album. You listen to it, too. I have never listened to it. All right. Let's get down to business, everyone. Let's get down to business. What's that from? Write it in the chat. To defeat the Huns. Salim Razawi said I was not allowed to sing it until I saw the movie years ago, and I finally saw it. Was not long ago. Anyway, there's a lot of things I'm confessing to you right now that really are none of your business, but that's how close to you I feel. All right, so let's bring on just a great friend, awesome coworker, someone that hasn't been here since like episode 1 or 2 in season 1. And I've been wanting her to be back for so many times. Everyone, please welcome your recreation coordinator and naturalist at the Alviso Adobe Community Park, Martha Cerda. Please get on here, Martha. Where are you?
Hi, Mark. Hi, everyone.
Welcome back to Pleasanton Live, Martha.
Happy to be here. I'm so excited.
I am too. I have to tell you, my next door neighbor, they made a birdhouse, and they put a camera in the birdhouse, and they put seeds in there. So I've been thinking a lot about you because, I mean, this is Martha's jam is birds, and I have been obsessed with their Facebook feed and Instagram. She puts up the videos. It turns on every time a bird comes in. And once in a while, a squirrel visits, but the birds reign supreme in that little house.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm sure they're getting lots of cool footage.
Yeah, and they have a little table in there. They have like they decored it up. They have decor in there for the birds. It's so cute. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen. I should send you some of these.
Yes, please. I'd love to see them.
So what have you? Come on. What have you been up to?
Oh wow! Since last time I was here, lots of things have changed. We at the Alviso Adobe Community Park, our indoor facilities remain closed, but the outdoor grounds, they're open every day, dawn to dusk. You're welcome to come and enjoy the sun or the rain. Hopefully we'll get some soon. The grounds are beautiful, and nature is, as you know, everywhere. And spring is around the corner. So everything is just looking so green and so beautiful. So I encourage everyone to come on out to the Alviso Adobe Community Park and just explore the outdoor grounds. It's the cutest thing, and it makes me smile every time I see folks walk around the park. They have their sandwich, they're taking a bite, or they're peeking at some of our windows. We do have some in our windows, we have some exhibits that we put up a couple of months ago, and I always enjoy seeing people kind of peek through the windows and see and learn a little bit more about, what we've crafted. So that's always fun.
That's cool. It's like the equivalent of me like seeing someone when we're actually in the firehouse, seeing someone in the back like playing guitar. I'm like, look, it's an artist out there.
Yeah. That's awesome. Me every time, in a non-creepy, non-stalker way. I just get excited, and I'm like, yes, people are enjoying and learning history and nature, which is always a great thing.
What do we need to be looking out for right now in nature with springing?
Ooh! I just saw some forget-me-nots, some blue forget-me-nots, which are these really cute blue flowers. You can start seeing some of our oak trees, especially our valley oak trees. We're starting to see some of those leaves pop up again. You'll probably notice on those valley oak trees these like round circular balls. They're not apples. Don't eat them. They're oak balls. They're actually homes.
Please don't eat those.
Please don't eat those. They're wasp homes.
Really?
Yeah, I know, it's pretty cool. So you'll see them everywhere.
What kind of tree is the big one just outside of your office? That huge one that's right outside of it.
It's the valley oak tree.
That's the valley oak?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why I saw like 2 woodpeckers in there when I last was up there to see you.
Yeah, well, they're still here. We usually see like about, I see and I hear about 7. And it's crazy, when I'm in the office, I can hear peck, and they always get me. I think it's somebody knocking on the door, but it's just the woodpeckers on the roof, which always cracks me up.
And they're laughing at you too, just like Woody Woodpecker, those upstarts.
Most likely, they like messing with me. But spring, like I said, spring is around the corner, so we'll start to see a lot of our early wildflowers bloom, and lots of greenery, lots of things getting life back up again, which is always really exciting. Definitely go outside and check out some of our hiking trails around Pleasanton, or even flat trails. They're beautiful.
Oh, that's one of my favorite things in the spring is when sometimes I'm inside just too much, and then I go out to just like take the garbage out. And I'm like, I should have been out here longer. It's
Yeah.
beautiful today. So that's a good reminder. Thank you for that reminder. Get out there, see nature,
Enjoy it.
enjoy it. So you brought our next guest to me. He wasn't even on my radar until you mentioned him.
Yeah, he's quite the guy. He is just an amazing friend of the Alviso Adobe Community Park. And I'm so excited for everybody to get to see a little bit more about his craft. He's been volunteering at the Alviso Adobe Community Park for quite a while. I started with the city about 3 years ago, 2017. Yeah, 2017. And I met him, and we just have not stopped connecting. And he does a lot of amazing work with our school children in person. He actually helped me record a virtual part of our virtual field trip for kids.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean, the kids love him, adults love him, because he is just full of knowledge, and what he has to share is so inspiring. Like us, he's a nature lover. He loves the outdoors. He loves hiking, and he's just, I mean, let's bring him on. Let's
do it.
All right, so come on out, special friend. Where are you? Where are you?
Ken Peak, please sign in.
Here I am, guys. Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Now I have to live up to the hype, so we'll see what happens.
So tell us, Ken, what are you here to show the audience a little, or teach the audience a little bit more about?
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a passion of mine, which is related to archaeology. It's called Flint Knapping, and what that means is shaping of stone into stone tools like arrowheads, spear points, knives, that kind of thing. It's a very ancient technology. When I say ancient, like over 3 million years old. So it's been around a long time. Yeah, and the name is kind of funny, Flint Knapping. It has to do with back when people used flintlock rifles, and they had to make these little gun flints. And so that's kind of where the name comes from, but now it applies to people like myself who like to recreate that technology. So that's
can you tell us, how does one get started with flint knapping? I know you're a master at that craft, but for those that are wondering how you even get started, do you have any tips, any suggestions?
Yeah, because when I was learning it many years ago, I won't say how many, but a long time ago, there was not a lot of information, and it was more by learning one-to-one, which is really still the best way. But nowadays, like anything else, look at YouTube. And if you look up Flint Knapping, there's some really good videos on there, tons of videos now. So a lot of people are getting into this skill, via video on YouTube now, and there are some excellent sources there.
Now, I know that you have crafted, I mean, you have a ton of things to show us today. I've been wondering this a lot. Artists usually sign their work, right? Like a painting, or they usually like sketch something, or they have like a distinctive style. Musicians, same way. And I'm curious, as a flint napper, do you sign your work? Do you have a distinctive style that you follow so that people know that it's a Ken Peak original?
So that's actually a really good point, because actually it's very important to do just that. What I do with the pieces I make, I actually use an engraving tool, a scribe, and I put my initials and sometimes the date on there, because it's actually very difficult to tell a modern replica from an artifact. And unfortunately, as with many other things out there, there has been a history of some fraudulent pieces being passed off as old. So I don't want to get caught up in all of that. So I always do sign everything, which I think is very important for modern flint nappers to do.
That's awesome. Now I have to ask, because I've been keeping up with Pleasanton Live, Mark, and even though I am not on every week, I enjoy watching it. I'm a big fan, a huge fan. And I love that I get to ask this to Ken. Ken, who's your top artist? If you had to pick, who's your top artist? I'm sure Mark is excited to know, so is the rest of our audience.
Okay, well, no pressure there, I can see. Well, you can probably tell I'm of a certain era, and I am a bit of a musician myself. I've been playing guitar forever, pretty much. So I kind of grew up in a lot of these sort of folk rock traditions. So people like James Taylor, I'll just use him as an example, is definitely one of the, big influence. As somebody I just have huge admiration for.
He's fantastic. Like that just the songwriting alone.
Yeah, the songwriting, performing. I've seen it many times over the years. His concerts are amazing. Yeah, it's like you're sitting in his living room. It's just incredible. One of the few artists who I think actually is definitely much better in person than on their recordings.
He's fabulous. And you are speaking the language of my supervisor, Rob Vogt, at the Firehouse. That is like his top artist. And I think he started playing the guitar because of him.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you play the guitar. Do you play any other instruments?
Mostly guitar. I've done a little bit of percussion work, as we talked a little bit before. I don't consider myself to be a percussionist, but I do some drumming when I get the opportunity.
Nice.
And but mostly those. I've fooled around with other instruments over the years, but those are the big ones.
Well, that's awesome. Sure. And have you ever made your own instruments?
I have made some drums over the years. I've made flutes that are sort of traditional style flutes, different kinds of percussion instruments. There we go. And that kind of thing. So yeah, it's fun. I've made a little, yeah. So yes, the answer is yes.
So you craft instruments, you craft all these different type of stone tools. What are some of the latest pieces you've been working on?
So
want to share some with us today?
I just happen to have with me a couple of things that I've made recently that I'm pretty happy with. They're kind of unusual and not the kind of things people see all the time, but one I'll show you guys first is a replica of a very distinctive type of point or spear or arrowhead called the Stockton point, and it looks kind of like this. Wow. And I'll try and get it up there where you can see it. And the key with this type of thing, this is made out of black obsidian, which I'll talk about. That's volcanic glass.
You made all those notches?
Yeah. No, I made the whole thing. This is from a rough piece of stone. Wow. And that's kind of the signature characteristic of this type of projectile point, is that series of notches. You really don't see that anywhere else except for on this type of thing. And this is characteristic of central coastal California into the Delta area, especially.
Wow.
So I was pretty happy with that. The other one that I really enjoyed making, a point style that I'd never heard of, honestly, until recently, is this one here. It's called the Vendetta point. And this is actually kind of an odd shaped thing that is found up along the Columbia River area on the border there between Oregon and Washington. And it's got this very distinctive style, which I don't really know a huge amount of. I'm guessing it's might serve sort of a harpoon function with these big barbs.
Like a 2-in-1.
It's almost like one arrowhead sitting on top of another one. It's a very odd. So I was very happy with that. So these are a couple of my more recent pieces that I've worked on.
And what are some? I mean, those are amazing. What are some other rocks that you can use when you're crafting stone tools?
Right. So obsidian, as I mentioned, which is volcanic glass. Let me just adjust that green screen right there. So this stone right here, which doesn't look very impressive, is actually a very nice piece of material. And the outside, often when these things form, look kind of like this. But when you break them open, It's like this. So this is volcanic glass or obsidian, and this is the closest source to where we are now. This is from up in Napa Valley area.
Wow.
So the native peoples in all through California were very fond of using this material. But you know, there are other types of materials, what we call cherts. It's a different formation material. Here's a piece of material that's made out of what we call Franciscan chert. Very hard, tough material. Here's a piece from the coast called Monterey chert. And that is something that's found along the central coast as well. These are much tougher materials than that previous one. They were used a lot prehistorically. Obsidian is kind of neat because it comes in various colors like this one here.
Wow.
This is a piece of material from the Central Valley called Farmington chert. Very tough material. So all these materials have in common the fact that they break in a very predictable way and can be shaped into these stone tools. So
That's awesome.
That's cool.
I can't wait till you show us later how
Fun
you
stuff.
actually get
You
to
know?
something from something big to something smaller. I think it's definitely a skill that takes a lot of time, patience, and hard work and practice to learn and get good at. And I mean, your work is beautiful. But also,
Thank
I will have to say that you as a teacher, you're amazing. You actually were able to teach the Alviso Adobe staff some of your craft, and you're very patient to say the
And you
least.
are all experts now, I know.
I know, every time, I think shortly after that class, I just wanted to put my head down and just, I'm like, I haven't worked on that piece, Ken. I'm sorry. I haven't gotten to the notch level that you have. But it's definitely something that is it's very relaxing. And when you're on the zone and you're you're just reducing that stone, it's very peaceful. Actually, it's extremely relaxing.
I have to say, it's turned out to be a very good quarantine activity in a lot of ways. I mean, I've done more of this in the last year probably than I've done consistently in many years before, and it's just, as you say, it's kind of meditative. You can't really be thinking about anything else, which has been a good thing over the last year. So yeah, it's really a great thing in that way. I'll just really briefly show you, for example, just as some examples, I'll show you some of the variety of the types of materials. So here's a collection of things that I've done.
Ken, what's that blue one? Is that glass?
So the blue one, there are a couple that are made from man-made glass. That's one right there, you're correct. And that's also a piece of bottled glass. Now I do that because glass and volcanic glass, which is obsidian, are chemically the same thing. So they work just the same. And it's fun to just do different things with materials. You get these crazy colors with glass, but the others are all natural stone, different kinds of obsidian or cherts. You can use petrified wood and agate and jasper. A lot of semi-precious stones can be used to do this. So just as an example of the variety of materials that are out there.
Thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into
Absolutely.
your craft. And we can't stay here with us.
Stick around.
Yeah, stick around, because I know that you have more to share with the audience, and I cannot wait to see that. So we'll see you in a little bit.
Very good. We'll see you then.
See you in a bit. That's so cool. That's like scratching a childhood itch. Well, I was born in Colorado, and when I went to Colorado, there's as you can imagine, there's of course similar kind of sights and nature out there. But when I was a kid, especially as I was a kid, my friends always claimed to have found an arrowhead. I found an arrowhead. I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't find an arrowhead on Peterson Air Force Base. Get out of here. And that's just like and hearing what Ken said, I'm like, they probably didn't, but who's to say they didn't? There was a lot of open spaces.
Yeah, especially after a rainfall, and you never know what is just going to suddenly be uncovered. So, yeah.
The biggest problem I'm having with tonight is I think my wife and son are going to have to live through another hobby that I might have to start.
It's a really good hobby, but I'm the type of person that when I get into something, I fixate over it, and like, I'm hooked. Like, I will just do it till I feel like I've gotten sort of kind of good.
Sure.
I will say that Flint Knapping is one of those things that it doesn't come natural to me, but Ken has been really kind at telling me you just have to keep working on it. Just keep trying it. Keep playing around with it. But I just know that I'll just lose myself. Like I'll want to flint nap like all day, every day. Which I guess there's nothing wrong with it, but there's other things that
there's other things that could be like, why is she doing that?
Yeah.
But flint napping, people, if you say something like that, that's one that's like, if you're doing it and you're like, I'm flint napping, they'll be like, all right, I don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Okay, go ahead and keep doing that. So I had mentioned a couple of Pleasanton Lives that you and I are doing, along with our colleagues in the library in Pleasanton, are doing virtual field trips. Those kids that are distance learning, and we've been lucky enough to get a few under our belts already. Mm-hmm. So what can people expect if I'm a teacher? Mm-hmm. What can I expect from Martha if she drops into my class?
A trip back in history for sure. We have actually 3 different series that we offer. One of them is on Native ways, so it's teaching students and reviewing material that kids learn about California Indigenous people. And so what I've been able to do is actually take 360 essentially views of our facilities and of our really cool site features. And I take the kids onto these 360 views. And together we learn a little bit more about Indigenous people and all of the plethora of knowledge they have about the natural world and their interaction with nature. And it's been a blast. Our 4th grade field trip is on early California history. So we talk a lot about our Adobe house. We can't make an Adobe brick virtually, but we do go over the recipe for a secret special Adobe brick, and hopefully kids are making those at home, outside, not indoors, so that parents, don't get bothered by all the mess. And then our last series is a creature feature. So we do have 2 animal in residence at the Alviso Adobe. We have a rose-haired tarantula. Her name is Molly. And we also have Frankie, who's a red-eared slider turtle. So these 2 special guests come on with me virtually into kids' classrooms, and we teach them a little bit more about the animals' place in the natural world, their importance to our habitats, which is always a fun trip. So it's a little bit of history and a little bit of nature, the perfect combination for a good 35-minute virtual session.
So I learned a lot from you just when we talk about it, and we're kind of helping each other get ready for these virtual field trips.
Yeah.
I always learn from you. I always learn from you, always. Like, you open your mouth, you talk about your job, I'm like, it's in here. That's the way I learn. That's how I learn. But also it's like, and my wife is a science teacher as well, so I've learned between you and my wife. I've learned so much. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun watching you prepare and seeing how you prepare. And I got to do some virtual, usually during the school year, like you, I go into schools and I'll do theater, theater programming for them. I'll go into but for virtual programming, I do collaborative theater games.
Wait, and let me tell the audience, I was able to go into one of those virtual sessions with Mark, and the classroom, I mean, you all know Mark is amazing, but I had the most fun during my time there. I mean, it was so great seeing the kids be silly, loosen up, and just enjoy. And it was just a ton of fun. So I definitely enjoyed it. And I'm a big fan of everything you do. And I always learn so much from you too. Every time you speak, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to steal that phrase. I'm going to listen to that artist. Done, new hobby.
This is what being on a team means, you guys. When you have people on your team that you like and love working with, you get to learn things. It's cool. And I'm lucky enough that I get to do theater as a living, but also go into these classrooms and we get to talk about our passion. We get to share our passion. We get to play in these classrooms with these kids and teachers, and these teachers that are choosing to do it. So if you are an educator or you know an educator out there, please email me and or Martha. The information is in the video here. We have both of our emails are in there. And please ask us how we can make virtual visits to your classroom. And also we can point you to, if you're looking, you have a library unit, a literature unit, the library is doing them as well. So please ask us how we can be in your classroom for a very affordable price. I should say.
And the library has some like an awesome series lineup put together. So
It's really
I can't
good.
wait to sneak into one of those sessions and enjoy, just like
It's
the rest
great.
of the students and teachers.
Cool. And I'm telling you what, Martha is like. She's like the MVP of virtual of any kind of field trip. She's the MVP. Like the only reason that she was late to meetings is because she was like, sorry, I had like 500 field trips today. Like that's that's the only reason. So it's awesome. So I see that Ken is ready to show us some stuff. I'm excited.
Oh, you guys are going to love this. So like I said, Ken does a lot of he helps out with our field trips, specifically for Native Ways. During a typical school year, we actually go with some of the classes. We hike Agustin Bernal. So it's a community park in the city of Pleasanton. And Ken sets up a special array of items. And while I take half of the students on a hike, he stays with the other half and teaches them a little bit more about flint knapping and the art of flint knapping and how Indigenous people utilize tools for all different sorts of things in their day-to-day life. And he has this similar setup, and the teachers go wild, the kids go wild, the chaperone parents are blown away. So you guys are just going to love this. Okay.
I'm going to get lost. I get self-conscious sometimes because I'm on camera when someone else is on camera. I don't know what kind of faces I'm making.
I'm like this.
But I know I'm like, let's go, Ken. Show me something.
That's me all the time. Anytime that I'm talking to Ken, I'm always like, tell me more. Wait, what do you have going on there?
Just the pictures that you sent me, like Ken, with this kind of setup, I was like trying to zoom in on the picture to see what kind of stuff was going on.
Ooh,
so
yes.
I'm glad he's here live. This is cool.
Yeah, he's going to tell us a little bit more about the items that he has on. Ken,
are you good?
Hearing me again?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking, and I'm just kind of fooling with the phone to get the camera lined up so you can see. Are you seeing the area here?
I am, and it looks good, Ken. It looks awesome. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody that's watching us at home what you have?
Well, I will. So what I'm doing right now, there's a lot of stuff here, and I know it may not be easy to see all of it, but what I'm going to do is talk about some different stones, some of the traditional tools that are used to shape these stones, and I'm going to try and show you how to shape a projectile point. What I want to show you guys first, though, and I'm going to bring this in so you can see it. Obsidian is what we call what we call a concoidal fracture, and what that means is it breaks in a cone shape, and it's a little tricky to see, but right on the end of this stone here, there's a cone there. You may or may not see that. So anyway, but that allows me and everyone to be able to break these stones in this way. So again, I'm going to be working with obsidian, which is typically in a nice black form like this. Looks kind of funky on the outside. You break it open and it looks like that. You know, it's kind of nice and shiny. It depending on the mineral content, you can get a nice reddish color like this. Beautiful stuff. And that was valued for different kinds of projectile points. The other types of stone that was used, these different types of what we call chert. And we have Monterey chert that comes from the coastline here, as well as Franciscan chert. So they kind of offer different colors and this is a much tougher and stronger material. So what I want to show you guys first is how you start with just a chunk of stone like this. This is a piece of obsidian. And I'm going to break off a smaller piece because I have to do that first to be able to make something. So that involves using a tool called a hammer stone, which is a round rock, basically a very fancy name for a round rock about a certain kind that can be used as a hammer
I'm going to swing it like a hammer and try and break some pieces off here. This stuff is extremely sharp. This actually produces the sharpest edges that we know of. A sharp piece of obsidian, like this flake right here, has an edge on it that is about 200 to 300 times sharper than a new razor blade. And the reason is because it splits down to the molecular level to where the edge is only 1 to 2 molecules thick. So we cannot create an edge this sharp.
So it's important to say that folks that are watching this, you know, make sure that you're doing this safely. And if you are trying your hand at it and looking at YouTube, wear some gloves. Be safe.
You have to be trained, definitely.
Exactly right, Mark. So I'm wearing a glove now, and I'm using a big, thick piece of leather to protect myself because of that sharpness we talked about. And I'm going to try and knock off a couple of pieces here to show you guys. So here we go.
You know what, Martha, we're going to stay on, but for now, why don't we go ahead and stop our video so we can get it nice and big on YouTube.
Let's do it.
We can keep our mics live.
So I'm going to hit it in a couple of spots here that I've decided are going to be some pretty good places to remove some pieces. Okay, now I gave that a pretty sharp whack, and it's kind of hard to see way over there, so I'm going to bring it over so you can see it. Okay, I hit it right on top here, and that broke this piece off right here.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Okay, so there's one piece that can be used. Let me break one more off the same way. Using this hammer stone, I'm actually going to use a different hammer stone here, and yeah, this piece tends to want to shatter, but basically I'm removing smaller pieces that I could then shape into something like an arrowhead. This edge right now is a perfectly good cutting tool for a number of purposes. So let me show you what happens next. After we do this, I'm going to take that same piece right here, and I'm going to take a smaller hammer stone, and I'm going to go around the edge, and I'm going to knock these flakes off. And I do that to get rid of these beyond razor sharp edges and to start the initial shaping. Very simple and basic tools, but they can do some amazing things. Now, I like to use this tool, but I also like to use another tool. And I'm going to grab a different stone to show you how this works. I have here a piece of a deer antler. So here I have a deer antler. This is a very valuable resource because when you remove the bottom part of it, this makes a very good striking tool, what we call a billet. And this would be like a hammering device for shaping stone. And I'll show you how that works. So I'm just going to pick up a chunk here.
Are you taking notes, Mark?
I'm fascinated.
I know. It's awesome.
And I can actually knock these flakes off of here. And this is all done to try and get what we call a preform for making like an arrowhead, spear point, or just a general purpose cutting knife. Again, these are very, very old techniques going back literally millions of years. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of fast forward through some of the steps here and show you that once we get to something that looks more like, and let me find it here. Here we go. Once I get it shaped down to something like this, now what I'm going to do is what we call pressure flaking. And the way that was done is that, again, I'm going to use a pad of leather because, again, very, very sharp, even with small flakes. I'm going to use a piece of an antler. This is just the very end of an antler tip, a pointy end. And by holding this, and actually, let me get this in here. Hopefully you can see this. I'll get a little closer here.
It looks really good, Ken. We can't wait to see those flakes come off.
That's gonna be
Okay,
cool.
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually push right in there And you'll hear these little sounds of flakes being removed. All those little guys are coming off there. And it's actually being pushed off with this antler. Now, the antler is much softer than stone, but it's a much stronger material. So the stone breaks before the antler ever would. So that's why you can use a soft material like antler to shape. And I would continue to go around the edges like that until I get the shape that I want. In other words, something that looks kind of like, let me see here. Well, let's see, something like this. So here we have an arrowhead. Okay. These little notches on the side are actually used to be able to lash the stone point onto an arrow shaft. So what you do then is just that, and that results in an arrow like this one right here. Now this is an arrow that I made out of some local native shrubs that grow in the area. This one is called ocean spray. It's a very hard shrub, and it has an obsidian point on it. And it's got some feathers, so what we call fletching on the back end, and that helps arrows to fly straight and true through the air.
Are those real feathers, Ken?
Yes, these are real feathers, indeed. Yeah, and all of these are natural materials here. So that's kind of a brief survey of how this is all done. And unless there's anything else, Martha, I can mention to you, we're gonna go with that.
Ken, that was amazing. Mark, are you mind blown? Just
I am, and I'm someone that one of my hobbies and my passions is cooking, and one thing I'm starting to get into is like native cooking and reading more about it. And what I see, the art of this that I see, and the honor in this that I see is the way that they deal. Would you say millions of years ago? Even
this goes back now 3.3 million years to Africa. These are, of course, were pre-humans.
Sure.
But we and our ancestors and our pre-ancestors going way back have been shaping stones into useful tools. And
what I see is it's quite improvisational, whereas the people were saying, what is the earth giving us? What else is the earth giving us that we can use to shape this for our uses, for survival? And just in seeing that demo right there, I'm seeing how human beings have evolved into using sandpaper. Like, it's no different than, hey, we're going to start with this large rock thing, and then we're going to move to antlers, which is softer. Then we're going to move to leather and more antler to make things even finer. It's so cool to be able to see the history of where we were and where we are now. It's awesome.
Exactly. And our history and our prehistory, of course, is much, much older than our history. So
right.
We have a much greater prehistory than we do have a history. So people have been making stone tools for a very, very long time before we got into an industrial mode of living with metals and other materials.
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been fantastic. I can't, like, I'm so happy that Martha put you on my radar. I can't believe that I hadn't heard about you until she said something. I'm so glad that I have, and I think there's more things to learn from you for sure. So everyone, please go into the description of this video, and if you have a classroom or you have a question, Ken is also part of a group called Primitive Ways, where he's part of what they call a clan of people that teach these types of prehistory, right? Like this kind of history. It's really fantastic. We've done it again, you guys. Martha, thank you for joining us. Ken, thank you for joining us today. I had a wonderful time meeting you and learning from you, Ken.
Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure.
We've got to do this again sometime.
Yes.
You bet. My pleasure.
Please.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Mark.
Everybody, take care of yourselves. Wear your masks, even if you're vaccinated. Let's knock this thing out. We're almost there. You've heard me say it. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. I see your posts. I see you all getting vaccinated. Let's keep taking care. Don't get remiss just because you have your vaccine. Let's take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Be kind. Goodbye, everybody.
So much to do and to learn and to love, and the people in this place we're from in Pleasanton.